What would happen if you suddenly drifted into outer space? Imagine this. You're standing on the edge of a space station, surrounded by the vast and endless void. There's no gravity, no sound, and nothing between you and the deadly silence of the cosmos except a thin layer of glass. Then, somehow, you're pushed outside. No spacesuit, no oxygen, no time to scream. It sounds like a sci-fi scene, but what if it actually happened? Would your body explode, like in the movies? Would you freeze in seconds? The truth is far more chilling and far more real. One of the most common Hollywood myths is that you'd burst like an overfilled balloon, with your organs spraying across space. But the human body is much tougher than that. Your skin, though it seems fragile, is incredibly resilient, working with connective tissues and internal structures to create a natural pressure barrier. When suddenly exposed to the vacuum of space, the pressure inside your body increases slightly, but not enough to cause an explosion. You won't burst. You won't shatter. But you will suffer. The first thing you'll feel is intense chest pain as the air in your lungs tries to escape violently, because there's no outside pressure to hold it in. If you hold your breath, that internal pressure could rupture your lungs, killing you almost instantly. But if you exhale quickly, you might buy yourself 10 to 15 seconds of consciousness. That's it. That's all the time your brain has before oxygen deprivation knocks you out cold. During that window, the fluids on your body, saliva, tears, the moisture inside your nose, will start to boil, not from heat, but from the sudden pressure drop. Your body will swell, not grotesquely, but enough to be painful and disorienting. Blood won't boil because it's held under pressure in the circulatory system, but the experience will feel like your life force is being vacuumed out from within. You won't explode, but you will begin to die, quietly, slowly, and painfully, unless someone rescues you in time. Space, silent and endless, becomes your grave. On Earth, the air around you keeps your lungs balanced. But in space, where external pressure is nearly zero, the air in your lungs wants to escape instantly. If you try to hold it in, that pressure difference could tear your lungs apart. So the first thing you must do, counterintuitive as it feels, is exhale. Let all the air go. It's your only chance to survive a few more seconds. But even if you do that, you're still running out of time. Without oxygen, your brain starts to fade. Your vision blurs. Your hearing disappears. Your limbs go numb. And then, you black out. Technically, your heart might keep beating for a few moments. Your blood might still circulate. But without air, without pressure, and without oxygen, your body will shut down. Unless you're pulled back into a pressurized, oxygen-rich environment within about 90 seconds, you'll die, and you won't even know it happened. The terrifying truth is, space doesn't kill you instantly with violence or impact. It gives you a few seconds, enough to realize you can't breathe, enough to feel helpless, to sense that you're fading away in a place so foreign, there's no one to call, nothing to hold on to. It's not a physically painful death, but one that's horrifying in its silence and in the terrifying clarity of knowing it's the end. Most people imagine that in the freezing cold of space, where temperatures can drop to nearly 270 degrees, you would instantly turn into an ice statue without a suit. But in reality, it's more insidious. In a vacuum, there's no air to carry heat away, so you wouldn't freeze as quickly as you would in a freezer or a blizzard. Instead, your body starts losing heat slowly, mainly through radiation, a much slower process than heat conduction through air or water. This means that, in the first few minutes, you won't be frozen, but you'll experience something far worse. Right after exposure, the ultra-low pressure causes the water in your body to boil, not from heat, but because the boiling point drops below body temperature. The first parts to suffer are your eyes, mouth, nose, and the surface of your skin, any area with moisture exposed to space. You'd feel your eyes go dry and burn, your tongue sting, your saliva begin to foam and evaporate, your skin, especially soft areas like your lips, fingertips, and abdomen, would swell slightly as gases and vapor build up under the surface. You won't explode, but it will feel like your body is being stretched from the inside out. After a few minutes, as your body shuts down, your internal temperature starts to drop. That's when the freezing begins. Slowly, cell by cell. Blood stops flowing, tissue hardens. You start freezing from the inside out, but it may take hours before you become a true frozen relic drifting in space. If you're near a light source like the sun, the situation becomes even worse. One side of your body could be scorched by radiation, while the other side, facing the darkness, freezes, creating a temperature difference of hundreds of degrees across your skin. That contrast can crack skin, destroy tissue, and tear your body apart in a way only space can. Space doesn't kill you with one final blow. It lets you suffer, swell, evaporate, and freeze, leaving behind a silent monument to what was once a living being. When people imagine death in space, they often think of bodies exploding or blood boiling. But the reality is stranger and more complex. In a vacuum, the pressure outside is virtually zero, while inside your body, it's full of fluids. Blood, tissue fluids, and intracellular water. This extreme imbalance causes water in your tissues to vaporize, forming tiny gas bubbles just under your skin. The result? Your body swells oddly, fingers puff up, your face becomes rounded, your stomach expands. You'd look like a bloated version of yourself, like something inflated from the inside. But human skin and connective tissue are tough. You won't explode, tear, or look grotesque like in the movies. And your blood? It doesn't boil. That's because it's contained in a closed system. Your heart and vessels maintain internal pressure, keeping it liquid for a while. While you're swollen on the outside, your blood keeps circulating for a few more seconds, until your heart stops due to oxygen loss and plunging temperatures. But the sensation would be anything but tolerable. Swelling compresses nerves, especially in sensitive areas like your eyes, lips, and fingertips, causing intense pain. As vapor escapes moist tissues, areas like your lips and eyes crack, burn, and sting, without any flames. If someone could see you floating in space then, bulging eyes, slightly open mouth, bloated skin, you wouldn't look dead. You'd look like an unnatural version of yourself, twisted by time and space, drifting silently into nothingness. Then, as your heart finally stops and internal pressure collapses, your blood begins to freeze. Not boiling, not bursting, just silently crystallizing into part of the coldest, quietest death the universe can offer. In the vacuum of space, it's not the cold that kills you first, it's the sunlight. Here on Earth, we're shielded by an atmosphere that filters out ultraviolet rays, blocks X-rays, and dampens most of the sun's harmful radiation. But in space, there's nothing standing between you and that invisible heat. If you're drifting through direct sunlight, your skin will be scorched by ultraviolet, UV, radiation within seconds. With no atmosphere to scatter the rays, UV light strikes your skin like a laser, breaking down cells hundreds of times faster than a beach sunburn. In just 10 to 20 seconds, the outer layer of your skin will peel, blister, and burn. Worse still, the sun doesn't just emit UV. It bombards you with X-rays and gamma rays, high-energy radiation that can penetrate tissue, shred DNA, and cause internal damage. If, by some miracle, you're rescued after just a few minutes, you could still face long-term effects like skin cancer, immune failure, or permanent organ damage. Now imagine the opposite. You're in the shadows, behind a planet or moon, with no sunlight at all. That doesn't make you safe. Darkness in space means no energy. Your body rapidly loses heat, plummeting toward 270 degrees, close to absolute zero. Without warmth, your tissues stiffen, turning brittle like glass. Even the slightest impact could shatter your frozen skin. Worst-case scenario? You're trapped between both extremes. One side of your body facing the sun, roasting in radiation. The other plunged into freezing void. The violent temperature difference can cause skin to crack, blood vessels to rupture, even bones to split. You become a grotesque sculpture of death, twisted by the contradictions of the cosmos. Space doesn't need knives or guns, just light and shadow, enough to turn a human into dust without a sound. And yet, in this cold, silent place of death, you still have a chance to survive. Space doesn't kill you instantly. It leaves a window, a fragile, precious 90 seconds, before everything becomes irreversible. If you're thrown into space without a suit and a fellow astronaut reacts in time, there is hope. An airlock, pressurized suit, and oxygen feed could pull you back from the edge if you're rescued within a minute and a half. That 90-second window is the razor-thin line between life and death. During it, your heart may still beat. Your brain is not yet dead. Your cells are still repairable. If you're brought back into a pressurized environment with oxygen and emergency care, survival is possible. But survival doesn't mean recovery. Depending on when you're rescued, the aftermath could be brutal. Brain cells deprived of oxygen may die off, causing memory loss, sluggish reflexes, or permanent neurological damage. Radiation-burned skin may blister or peel. Eyes exposed to UV could suffer temporary or permanent blindness. And then there's the internal trauma: lungs, soft tissues, and blood vessels damaged by sudden pressure shifts. If you beat death, the recovery will be long, physically and mentally, because space doesn't just hurt your body, it haunts your mind. Surviving that experience means living with the memory of being on the brink, feeling your body swell, drifting alone in perfect silence, screaming with no one to hear. But after 2 minutes, if no one reaches you, the heart stops. The brain dies. Tissue begins to rot. At that point, revival is meaningless. Space is no longer a threat. It has become your silent grave, floating between the stars. In space, life and death are separated not by miles, but by seconds. And sometimes, the only thing that can save you is a hand reaching out in time. If you ever fall into space with no protective gear, this is the brutal timeline that awaits. No alarms, no heroic soundtrack, just silence, a cold, surgical, and unforgiving end. In the first 10 to 15 seconds, you lose consciousness. The vacuum pulls air from your lungs, and oxygen stops flowing to the brain. Your vision blurs. Darkness swallows everything. You black out. But even unconscious, your body keeps fighting, quietly, desperately. At 30 seconds, water in your tissues begins to boil, not from heat, but from the near-zero pressure turning it to vapor. Your skin inflates, limbs swell, face distorts. You become a slow, silent balloon, strange, helpless, and inhuman. By 90 seconds, the odds of survival drop to 0. Your heart has stopped. Brain activity has ceased. Organs begin to die from cold and anoxia. Solar radiation has torn through your cells. What was once a complex living being is now falling, lifeless, into nothing. There's no air to breathe, no sound to cry out. Your scream, if it comes, won't travel. Space has no medium for sound. You could shout, beg, or sob, and space will only answer with silence. No mercy, no second chances, no final words. Death in space isn't an explosion. It's a vanishing act, quiet, bloodless, unrelenting. A small human form, silently absorbed into the eternal stillness of the universe, and as you drift, voiceless, weightless, forgotten, between stars that never knew you existed, you become the universe's most sobering truth, just how fragile we are in the vastness of it all.